research. And that's fine. The alternative news and research crowd always talks about this. They talk about Japanese. But what's funny is I've never once heard them that say the Japanese have a responsibility to share this with the world. Everyone assumes that the Japanese and all the technology that the Japanese produce through their creativity, or that they grab robotics from America, which is what they did do, and then they take it to the nth power. And the Japanese, of course, everyone assumes, all the alternative news and researchers assume that the Japanese should be allowed to benefit from this. Japanese children should be allowed to benefit from Japanese creativity. They don't have any moral obligation to share this with the world. But what's funny is they'll turn around when it comes to anything European, when it comes to anything white, they immediately and arrogantly assume that they have an obligation, because they're white, to share it with the world. European children do not have the same rights as Japanese children. In other words, Indo-European children produce these wonderful technologies with their own creativity and their own gene pool. Obviously, it's somewhat genetic. We don't see Aborigines producing it. But they don't have the same privileges as the Japanese, and that is to say the European children cannot just benefit alone from their own technology. They have to share things for the world. And this comes out at the UN. The UN would never in a million years take Japan to task for not sharing with them semiconductor technology. No, they wouldn't dare take it up with the Taiwanese. You have a real advanced semiconductor industry. The Koreans have a real advanced LCD industry. The Japanese are real advanced with robotics. You have to share that with the world. They never say that. They'll always say, you so-called developed countries, need to share with us more. But they're only talking about white countries. And the alternative news and researchers fall prey into this. Hoagland, I think it's Richard Hoagland. He always does this type of stuff. These evil Western elites have this technology and they won't share it with the world. Well, bears don't need fishing rods. Bears don't need fishing rods. If they needed them, they'd already have them. And Aborigines don't need Facebooks. They don't. They don't need Facebooks. They don't need semiconductors. If they needed them, they'd be running around scouring us, taking our secrets, like the Japanese did with robotics, taking it back to Japan, and just like the Japanese did, or taking it back to the little Aborigine cub holes in the rainforest and developing it from there. They don't do that because they don't have any interest in it. And it's profoundly arrogant to say that the Japanese, and they always do this, it's the biggest double standard in alternative news and researchers. The Japanese have the privilege to develop their own technologies and to benefit from them, but European children don't. If European children develop a technology, well, guess what? They have to share it with the world. They have to share it with the world. And they're going to save the world with it. And if anything, whether it be, they never learn. This is the same group that talks about the destructive nature of taking Christianity and bathing the world in blood with it, killing all the Aborigines and forcing them under Christianity. Or even forcing them under some, well, actually they're not saying that, but environmentalism is the same dogma. They're forcing the third world under some environmental dogma. It's the same thing. Now, of course, they want to take them some advanced technology. If you can learn anything from our past, learn that interfering at all on any form, in any way, shape, manner, form, if you take them Facebook, it's going to harm them in some level if they didn't produce it themselves. If you can't take robotics, run with it, and do your own thing with it like the Japanese, you have no business fooling with it. Trying to give them some advanced form of energy like nuclear fusion or something like that, it isn't going to work. It isn't going to work, but they don't learn. They're going to solve all the world's problems and give everyone free energy. The Japanese, of course, they would never in a million years talk about the Japanese having to give everyone some new discovery they make in energy. No, that goes to benefit Japan first. But anything Indo-European children have, well, they got to give that to the world. They got to save the world with that. All the Dick Hoaglands. They're crazy. They're insane. They never learn. They never learn. Europeans have a tendency, we tend to universalize. We tend to universalize against any type of benchmark. So it doesn't matter if we create Christianity, we got to universalize it. If we create some new environmental faith, some environmental dogma, they're going to universalize it. If they have some new form of energy or physics, they're going to try to universalize it. This is a disease. You can't universalize what you are. You can't. That's the problem to begin with, but they never get it. So if I were to ever write a book, it would be about this dangerous double standard and the fact that Europeans, as much as they say they get it, never get it. Bears don't need fishing poles, and Aborigines don't need Facebook. they don't need it. If they need it, they'd already have it. You can only take them so far. If the Japanese are running around grabbing robotics technology or stealing it, or stealing something like cold fusion from America or from the Germans, or taking it from the Germans, develop it for themselves, well, that's fine. That's some amount of motivation. I mean, if they're smart enough to get in and steal it and take it and develop it, fine, so be it. But this double standard of the East Asians are allowed to advance technologically, and their gene pool is a lot of benefit from that. But anything the Europeans do, European children should not be allowed to benefit from that first. We have to let the whole world benefit from that. This is garbage. One small step for man, one giant step for the planet. Well, in reality, it's one giant step for white rabbits, and then it's a giant step for the world. But one of the challenges we made in the past, one of the big problems, is we never defined who it was making that first big step. And that mistake is not going to happen again. And that's why you're not going to see those technologies. They're not going to be walking around giving them to the world, nor are the Japanese. Thank goodness for that. But this double standard kills me among the alternative news and researchers, because they don't even see it. They see the harm done by trying to kill everyone or bathing the natives in blood, teaching them Christianity, converting them to Christianity, but they don't see the harm in trying to give them advanced technology they could not develop on their own. You know, I don't have a problem with Russia selling Iran nuclear technology. I really don't, because we're all equal. Well, if we're all equal, they should all have little nuclear warheads, just like Israel, just like everyone else. You know, this whole entire dynamic of one step for man and one giant step for mankind, this dynamic that has played itself out in the West, is really a racial dynamic, and it is within Europeans. It's really one giant step for white rabbits, and then the rest of the world kind of rides on our coattails. But the rest of the world is going to get a wake-up call. That is our coattails. Just like the Japanese believe that their technology should benefit themselves first, a lot of these, the Richard Hoagland types are going to get a wake-up call. Our race is going to be benefiting from our technology first. No one else is going to. That's the way it's going to work. You don't like that? Tough. I'm in full agreement on that. And plus, it's too dangerous. They don't get it. They understand the danger of taking Christianity and bathing Aborigines in blood and converting them to Christianity. They understand that. They understand the damage done, but they're willing to make the same mistake over and over again. And this technology, of course, some of this technology is extremely dangerous. Way more dangerous than nuclear. But that's funny. I would prefer us work it out with nuclear technology. All this big dynamic over Iran's nukes. I prefer us, and Israel's nuke and all these countries wanting nuclear warheads. I prefer us work it out over nuclear technology than to have this dynamic still around when it comes to some of the free energy technologies. Yes. But that is a funny double standard. And there are many double standards, but double standards are quite interesting.